You are watching Maximus Aviation.
Greetings everybody, Maximus here. Well, it's only been about a day since my first positive video about Boeing in a long time, and the often slimy Boeing go ahead and make me regret it. But according to the Wall Street Journal, and this is breaking as of late Monday evening, March 24, so I personally can't vouch for the validity of it. However, it sure does feel like something Boeing would do. So let me know down below if you think this is really happening or not. But according to the Journal, Boeing is set to back out of its very sweetheart deal they agreed to back under the Biden administration's Department of Justice, pushing all their ships in at the odds of an even better outcome is more likely under the new Trump administration. According to the Wall Street Journal, their words, not mine, so adjust your comments accordingly. Boeing is seeking more lenient treatment from the Justice Department, which under the new administration is reviewing numerous pending criminal cases that haven't yet gone to trial or been approved by the courts. But pay attention to this next part because Boeing nearly sealed its fate last year by agreeing to plead guilty in July to defrauding the Federal Aviation Administration. So if Boeing had pled guilty, this entire point would be moot. However, as fate would have it, the Texas federal judge Reed O'Connor overseeing the case rejected their proposed deal in December, pushing the resolution beyond the Biden administration now to the Trump administration. So now suddenly Boeing seems to believe it will benefit from fresh eyes at the new Justice Department, which of course always unnamed sources have said they are inclined to at least modify parts of Boeing's agreement. On a personal note, I hate unnamed sources. If you have facts, put your name on it. But that's just me. However, I'm just reading the news, so let's get on with it. With that said, these unnamed sources said that allowing Boeing to rescind its plea agreement or lightening the company's punishment would indeed be a blatant about-face for any Justice Department. The story continues that the two sides are still negotiating how to propose changes to the deal expected by April 11 to U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor. Again, according to sources, one possible change under discussion is whether Boeing can get out from under and forego hiring an outside monitor to ensure its compliance with the law. Of course, for Boeing and the Justice Department, they both declined to comment. Boeing's guilty plea agreement during the last administration followed an earlier settlement that put it on corporate probation for 3 years. Then famously, just days before Boeing's probation was set to expire, the whole Alaska door blowout thing happened. So that incident spurred fresh scrutiny of Boeing's manufacturing process, and a new investigation by the DOJ was done, and at that point, prosecutors declared that Boeing had violated the terms of its probation by failing to address reports about employees falsifying compliance with some required inspections at its South Carolina plant. Boeing initially argued against the department's findings as a guilty plea would stain the company with the scarlet letter of a corporate felony. And as a convicted felon, Boeing might need assistance for such waivers from the Defense Department to avoid being suspended or barred as a defense contractor. And in typical Boeing fashion, this unseemly news comes on the heels of a big announcement that they beat out Lockheed Martin and won a contract to build a new F-47 jet fighter for the Pentagon. Still, Boeing did eventually agree to plead guilty as part of its earlier sweetheart deal that required it to pay an additional $243 million fine, spend $455 million to improve its compliance, quality, and safety programs, and hire an outside compliance monitor. But again, these unnamed mystery sources said that as part of its new talks with the Justice Department, Boeing isn't trying to walk back its commitment to spend the money in safety compliance improvements and still plans on fulfilling their end of the deal. But Judge Reed O'Connor rejected the earlier deal because of the Biden administration's insistence that the monitor be hired under DEI requirements, not merit-based. So O'Connor wanted to find the best qualified moderator for the job, one selected for reasons other than diversity or equity. So prosecutors, as a result, agreed that they would pick monitors solely based on merit from the broadest possible pool of qualified candidates. Well, that makes sense at least. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of glad to see that whole DEI era riding off into the sunset. What do you think? Let me know. Especially when we're building aircraft. But again, Boeing's been so much better lately, but it's still Boeing, so there's that. Anyway, speaking of not building safe aircraft, at the time, Judge O'Connor has said Boeing's crime may properly be considered the deadliest corporate crime in U.S. history. Yes, on that I think we can all agree. However, nothing in his earlier ruling contemplated tearing up the guilty plea or not hiring an independent monitor. So at this point, it's unclear how he would react, if true, to the sharp pivot by Boeing in the Justice Department. And this judge has really made the family members of 346 people killed in the two MAX crashes a big part of this case. And he's shown that he will continue to include them in all of his decisions. O'Connor ruled that the family members have rights in this case as representatives of crime victims. And the families have wanted Boeing to be subject to a sterner punishment, saying Boeing should have to admit to having caused the deaths of the passengers on the flights, which were operated by Ethiopian and Lion Air. In their last corporate filing, the victims' families wrote, "Corporate criminals like Boeing should not be permitted to escape the truth of the consequences of their actions." Okay, so remember, I don't make the news, I just report it. And since this story is just kind of new and breaking, you're probably going to be hearing much more about it. But what do you think? Do you think Boeing is really going to renege on this deal and look for a better deal? Well, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight, but it does seem like a Boeing thing to do. But until we get all the facts, this is all the news I have. Until then, I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think down below. And when I know more, you'll know more. As always, yeah, this is Maximus.